The Point Park lacrosse teams prepare for their season, women's soccer stays on fire, and multiple retirements shock the world. It's time to come on down to Pioneer Sideline. Good evening and welcome to Pioneer Sideline. I'm your host, Bryn Reese, back for another week of sports news. We have all the breaking Point Park news for you, and later, national news and some conversations on the MLB season and the playoffs. To start, Edmi Idalis reports on how Point Park lacrosse is preparing for its first season in school history. Edmi?
Let's jump into it. Women's lacrosse head coach Eric Ingram and men's lacrosse head coach Cody Golan reveal that the rosters have been chosen and the fall off-season practices are now in full swing. In an interview with Ingram, he said, quote, "I am loving every minute of the fall off-season. It's so rewarding to see how hard they work and how much progress has already been made," end quote. Both Golan and Ingram disclosed that the most difficult part of playing as a new team is the lack of team chemistry. Ingram said, quote, "Being that they are all newcomers, there is no current culture or systems of play for them to melt into, so it's all new," end quote. When asked about leadership within the team, the coaches had different approaches to the subject. Golan said, quote, "We will not have captains and will let the true leaders rise to the top for next year's captain selection," end quote. While Ingram unveiled the 3 captains of this year's women's team, Lexi Spears, Presley Masters, and Taylor Desco. Desco said, quote, "It's an honor to be one of the first captains and to help set the tone for the future of our team. It means a lot to be able to step up, support my teammates, and grow together as we all learn from this new experience," end quote. All 3 captains expressed the significant role that the coaching staff has had in the start of their fall off season. Spears stated, quote, "His way of coaching has changed so many things for me personally, and I know other girls on the team think that as well. So I think between our compassion and our coach's style, we are off to a great start," end quote. We can look forward to seeing more from lacrosse in the spring season as they compete as part of the Mountain East Conference. Now let's kick things over to McKenna Smith for an update on women's soccer. McKenna?
Now let's stay at Highmark Stadium, but switch the sport and let's look at the hot streak for the women's soccer team. With conference play underway, Point Park women's soccer are showing they're ready to compete with anyone. The Pioneers picked up their 3rd straight win on Sunday afternoon, cruising past MEC opponent West Liberty 5-1. The tone was set almost immediately. Just 10 seconds into the match, Rebecca Filgren found the back of the net off of an assist from Stetta Kuiper, putting the Pioneers in control before the Hilltoppers could even settle in. And Point Park didn't stop there. In the 7th minute, Maria Gomez doubled the lead with an unassisted strike, and just before halftime, Martina Cardamone connected off of a setup from Tatum Lucero to make it 3-0 at the break. If the first half was about quick punches, the second half was about finishing the job. Filgren scored her 2nd goal of the day in the 51st minute with help from Paula Soleil, pushing her season tally to a team-high 4 goals and 1 assist. Less than 10 minutes later, Maya Figueroa added her 2nd goal of the season to stretch the lead to 5-0. West Liberty finally broke through in the 86th minute off a strike from Rylan Belinsky, but it was a little bit too late. Here's the catch. The Pioneers aren't just winning, they're dominating. In their last 3 games, they've outscored opponents 17-1 and now boast a season total goals of 19 compared to 4 allowed. Against the Hilltoppers, Point Park held a 16-7 shot advantage and continued to average nearly 4 goals per game. In net, Frederike Rivers-Larsen provided steady once again, recording 3 saves across 90 minutes to secure her 3rd win of the year. She now sits at 3-1 on the season with a 67% save percentage. With the victory, Point Park improves to 3-1 overall and 2-0 in MEC play. The Pioneers will look to keep their momentum and their winning streak alive when they hit the road Wednesday night at 7 p.m. for the matchup against Fairmont State. Back to you at the desk, Bren.
Now, McKenna, let's check on the Pioneers inside the esports arena, where Point Park's Valorant Gold and Rocket League Gold teams held their fall season openers this week. One team ended triumphant and the other fell in the final seconds. The Valorant Gold team, known as the Varsity Squad, opened its season with a sweep on Friday, September 19th against Old Dominion University's JV team in a 2-0 series. The first map played was Haven, where the Pioneers controlled the tempo, winning 13-2. Ari Riso, playing under the name Ari Cass, headlined the map with 23 kills. The second map was on Sunset, where both teams stood 5-5 until the Pioneers took 8 straight rounds to secure the sweep, 13-5. Skylar Madera, known as Extra, led the second map with 21 kills, followed by Ari Cast with 18 kills. Valorant Gold is now 1-0 in divisional play. Now the Rocket League team opened play on Wednesday, September 16th, suffering a close loss against divisional opponent Virginia Wesleyan. Point Park beat Virginia Wesleyan in the finals last year to become divisional champions for Rocket League in April. Teammates shared that this series was regarded as a high-stakes rematch. The Pioneers barely lost last week in a best-of-5 competition, taking the series all the way to the 5th game after 3 straight wins. Now the Pioneers opened the series with 2 losses, and with their back against the wall, Caleb Knox and Saif Greco responded in Game 3 with 2 goals within the first few minutes to eventually win 2-1. Point Park similarly opened Game 4 with 2 immediate goals from Ian Bien, known as Snoozin. He later extended the lead to 3-1, scoring all 3 goals and forcing an all-or-nothing Game 5. The 5th and final game showcased an intense rivalry with a tied score in the final minute. In 22 seconds left, Virginia Wesleyan found the go-ahead goal to take the game and in turn win the entire series. Rocket League Gold is now 0-1 in divisional play. Moving forward, Rocket League Gold and Valorant Gold will compete in weekly competitions versus divisional opponents. Now that's all we have for Point Park Sports this week, but what's coming in the week ahead? Women's soccer travels to Frostburg State, while men's soccer heads to West Liberty on Wednesday, September 24th. Volleyball remains on the road as well in a game against Davis and Elkins on Friday at 7 p.m. Cross country is back, competing in the Lock Haven Invitational on Saturday. Then men's and women's soccer are back at Highmark Stadium on Saturday, September 27th for their first doubleheader of the season. Now that's all the Point Park news we have this week, but tune in next week for more Pioneer updates. And as always, go Pioneers! After the break, more of what's happening in the sports world. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Football season continues to entertain, and it's time for our weekly NFL reporter, Gabe Ebersol, to give us an update. Gabe?
That's right, Bryn. Early, unexpected upsets and Monday night moments were the top spectacles across the league's 3rd week of action. Starting off, Green Bay loses their O in Ohio. The Pack go out of Lambeau, destination Ohio, for the first road game this season. But watch out for the winless Browns, because their defense, it is world class. Allowing only a field goal on 28 first-half plays, Cleveland still heads into the extended break, trailing 3-0. But the armor cracks even farther yet near the end of the third. On the 3rd and goal from the 3, it's John Fitzpatrick. Game and career first touchdown, 10-0 Packers with 1 period left to play. But the rookie Judkins pops free for a 38-yard run, giving Cleveland a spark to light the dark. Ball gets it within 1 tick of 6, but a penalty kills the drive. Home team settles for a field goal to get on the board. Only 3.5 minutes remain in this one. The Packers, they could bleed the clock out if they play this right. But third and short, Matt LaFleur puts his trust in the ball with Jordan Love. And it's an awful read. Grant Delpit steps right in front, returns it inside the 5 to grant the Browns a chance. They capitalize. The Rook rumbles in to tie it at 10. Number 10, a chance to right his wrongs late, gets the green into field goal range. Cleveland crisis averted. Right? Wrong. The defense carried the load on the day, but the special teams in Shelby Harris, his 6th career blocked kick, come up clutch in crunch time with the rejection. Now the offense just has to chip in, call upon the veteran QB. Flacco fires to Njoku, then stoically sets up and slams the spike into the turf, the longest walk-off in Cleveland Browns history. It's up, and it's good from 55. Underdogs come out on top. Dog Pound claims their first win on the season, 13-10 comeback win over Goliath Green Bay. Defense clamped the cheese all day, bringing Love down 5 times and holding Josh Jacobs under 2 yards per carry on the game. Another cross-conference matchup Monday night. David Montgomery and Detroit dethrone the Ravens on the road. It's the other running backs that get it going early. Jahmyr Gibbs on the opening drive draws a response from Derrick Henry, needing a few but getting the whole field on 4th and short. Detroit driving 98 yards. David Montgomery finding the end zone. Lamar tosses to Bateman, and into the locker rooms, it's knotted at 14 apiece. Third quarter doesn't add any separation on the scoreboard. Mark Andrews hauls in a tutty, his first of the season, momentarily the difference until Amon responds, 18 yards out from Goff, 21-21. But the tides turn towards the Lions, forcing a 3-and-out. Montgomery passed all 3 levels of the Baltimore defense for 72 yards before he's finally hawked down. Jahmyr Gibbs finishes it off on 4th down, signature Lions flash on the ground score. Montgomery would put the game on ice with another big run. 31, the yardage on this game-sealing touchdown carry. Montgomery over 12.5 yards per carry. Lions with a statement win to close week 3. They got it done how they pleased. 200 yards each through the air and on the ground. This offense still has plenty of firepower post Ben Johnson. That's week 3's best offerings. Week 4 kicks off with the Seahawks taking on the division rival Cardinals. Both squads looking to slot strong opening month at 3-1. 8:15 Thursday on Amazon. See if Marvin Harrison and the Cards rebound or Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks score another 40. Now to Ryan Thiele for an update on coach and college football world. Take it away, Ryan.
You got that right, Gabe. Now it's time for college football. Controversy on college gridiron. Syracuse has fined $25,000 by the Atlantic Coast Conference for faking injuries in their upset win over Clemson last weekend. The league also issued a public reprimand calling the actions unethical, contrary to the spirit of the rules. With just 9:25 left in the fourth quarter and Clemson pushing hard, 2 Syracuse defenders went down, causing an injury timeout. But ACC officials, after reviewing the play, says this was a calculated effort to stall momentum. Under a new NCAA rule aimed to prevent teams from using injury stoppage to gain an advantage, a team is typically charged a timeout if a player goes down after the ball was spotted. In this case, the players went down before the ball was spotted, so Syracuse wasn't charged a timeout. But the ACC found that this violated the spirit of the rule. Clemson's quarterback Kate Klubnik spoke out after the game saying, quote, "We were playing with tempo. They stopped us on third down and then have an injury or something like that. When we were really got going, that was definitely tough for us to really get in rhythm," end quote. Syracuse defensive lineman Nasi Ogbert and Kevin Jobby Jr. were the 2 players who fell just after a 23-yard completion put Clemson near the orange 9-yard line. The crowd booed as the play stopped. So what does that mean moving forward? The ACC has clearly signaled that tactics perceived as gamership, especially under the guidance of injury, won't be tolerated. Syracuse accepted the fine, and while the play won't be overturned, the ruling could influence how both teams' officials and teams approach injuries rules in the tight, high-stakes moment. Speaking of Clemson, they and other notable programs are struggling this year. Gabe is back and joining me at the desk to talk about some of these struggling programs. Gabe, thank you for joining me today. So yes, let's just get started. This year's college football has been weird. Some teams like Alabama has not been the best. Ohio State hasn't played anybody, so we don't know if they're really that good this year. Michigan's freshman quarterback is struggling. So what team do you see so far that's these big name conferences and these big name teams are fakes?
That are fakes. The team that stands out to me the most that has avoided any real scrutiny, I think, is Ole Miss. This is a team that won a one-score game against Kentucky. They looked unimpressive in that. And then the next week they come out against Arkansas, and it's, again, a one-score game where you're letting up a lot of points. Their defense doesn't look legit. They only have 4 sacks on the year, only forced 3 turnovers. Negative turnover differential doesn't bode well for the strong schedule they have ahead. They're going to get thrashed by LSU on ABC this weekend, and then they have Georgia coming up down the line. They got Oklahoma down the line, and even their unranked teams, they're not pushovers. We're talking about South Carolina, we're talking about Florida. None of these are gimme games, and I think they've just skated by so far. I expect them to drop.
So let's stay in the SEC. In general, the SEC this year has been a very weak conference compared to years past.
Right.
What teams out of the ACC that are like unsung heroes do you think could make the push to be like a dark horse?
SEC. So I'm going to say dark horse out of the SEC. I really like Oklahoma. Why? Because so far they've scored well against Michigan. And that's a team that is genuinely good on defense, whether what their offenses look like this year. They're able to put points up and get the win there. And also they have a strong schedule coming up where they can prove they belong in that type of conversation. They play Alabama, they play Georgia. They get these wins, they're going to rise from where they're already at right now at number 7. And I really see them making a push, winning a couple of those games and making some noise later on.
Okay, now let's stem away from the SEC. Let's go up north to the Big Ten.
Right.
So this is supposed to be the year of Penn State. They've looked good so far, but we also haven't seen how Ohio State play. Michigan could turn their season around. What team out of the Big Ten besides Penn State could you see making a push?
Besides Penn State out of the Big Ten, I mean, Ohio State should be a top contender. Oregon this week, big noon game of the week, college game day. That's going to have real big implications for how this Big Ten is going to shake out. If Oregon's going to be able to stick near that top pack, losing Gabriel, losing a lot of their guys, Tej Johnson, their offensive firepower, whether they're going to sit up that upper echelon of college or whether they're going to drop back into the middle ranks, this game is going to play a big implication to me. I think if Penn State is able to come out, make a statement at home and win, it bodes well for them winning the Big Ten and maybe things being different this year against Ohio State. If Oregon is able to get this win, I think that really shakes up a lot of people's thoughts on the Big Ten. And I think Oregon rises to the top rank as that dark horse out of the Big Ten.
All right, well, thank you for joining me today. Thank you, Gabe, for those great points. We'll come back with more national sports news. Stay tuned.
Take them cue and open their mics.
Today marked the 1-year anniversary of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette strike.
Point Park University just hosted a campus-wide meeting.
Plans for the rapid transit bus line are not set to conclude until 2025.
Welcome back. Now what's new nationally? Megan Lukic is here in the studio with retirement news from this past week. Megan?
Let's travel to the city of Angels, where Los Angeles sports fans were hit with some retirement news from 2 of the city's legendary athletes this past Thursday. Dodgers pitcher Clayton Kershaw and Kings forward Anze Kopitar both announced that their illustrious careers will come to an end in the near future. Kershaw made his announcement 1 day before making his final home start of the regular season. In his press conference, he told the media, quote, "I'm at peace with it. I think it's the right time," end quote. Kershaw played all 18 seasons of his career with the Dodgers, where he won 2 World Series and 3 Cy Young Awards. Kershaw was also an 11-time All-Star and was named the National League MVP in 2014. Kershaw pitched in 4 innings on Friday in his possible final start at Dodger Stadium, and LA would go on to win the game over the San Francisco Giants 6-3. The Dodgers were able to clinch a spot in the postseason with the win, giving Kershaw a chance to play for 1 more World Series title this fall. Later on Thursday, Anze Kopitar announced that this upcoming NHL season the Kings will be his last. The Kings captain spoke on the matter in a preseason press conference saying, quote, "When I made up my mind about retirement, I pledged myself that I was going to leave it all out there this season. So my focus is there. I want to play as best hockey as I possibly can," end quote. In his 19 seasons with the Kings, Kopitar has racked up 1,278 points, won 2 Stanley Cups, 2 Selke trophies, and was a 5-time All-Star. Kopitar is also one of only 2 Slovenian players to ever play in the NHL. Kopitar's final campaign will begin on October 7th at home against the Colorado Avalanche. 2 players that said goodbye, but what about the college coach who suddenly stepped away? Ethan Van Duzen has the info. Ethan?
Yes, you heard that correctly. Coach Peril shocks the college basketball world as he decides to retire prior to the 2025-2026 season. It's an understatement to say that Coach Peril is a college basketball icon. He took a deteriorating program in Auburn and turned them into one of the most prestigious programs in college basketball. Bruce coached Auburn from 2014 to 2015. He holds the most wins in Auburn basketball history at 232 wins. He took his team to 2 Final Fours in 2019 and 2025, achieved 3 regular season championships in 2018, 2022, and 2025. Not to mention, led his team to 2 SEC tournament championships in 2019 and 2024. Coach Peril has also won SEC Coach of the Year 3 times, but only once with Auburn. He won Co-National Coach of the Year with none greater than Rick Pitino, who currently coaches St. John. Although Auburn just lost their head coach, it looks like their interregnum period might be short-lived as they look to bring in Peril's son, Stephen Peril, who is set to become the next head coach at Auburn. There are many speculations that Coach Peril may have concluded his coaching career to join politics, but there is nothing conclusive quite yet regarding that subject. Stephen Peril has big shoes to fill as Auburn loses a coach who brought toughness and always got the best out of his players through his charisma. It is no secret that Bruce's retirement is a monumental loss for college basketball, but as a wise man once said, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. That is all for your national stories this week. Back to you at the desk, Bryn.
Thank you, Ethan, with your sideline debut. And finally, we debate the MLB playoffs in our Case of the Week right after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. With 1 week left of the regular season play, we find out what MLB teams will make the run for gold or fall short in the playoffs this year. I'm joined by Nate, Marcus, and Ethan to debate this. Hello. So guys, we're kind of going to roll with this with AL, NL, and I want to start with the AL because it's a lot more close. Who are your top contenders in the AL? Nathan, we'll start with you.
I really like what the Mariners are doing right now. They've been the hottest team going into the playoffs in the stretch. They won 10 in a row just recently, and they have elite starting pitching. And what did we see last year? Detroit Tigers, they weren't the greatest team, but they had an incredible winning streak and just overall play to end last season. They beat the Astros in a big upset, and then they almost beat Cleveland to advance to the ALCS. So I think the Mariners are a better team. I love what they did at the deadline with their lineup. They really deepened it. I think it's as good as it's been in 7 years. And that rotation is going to be second to none in the American League.
Yeah. Marcus?
If I had to pick a team right now, it would probably be the Yankees because we've made several additions at the deadline, including closing pitcher David Bednar. Thank you, Pittsburgh. We have always had a top-heavy lineup with Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton. Those have sort of been the leaders. You have Aaron Judge, who last year hit 62 home runs. That was the record for the American League last year. Now, if you look at Philadelphia in the National League, Kyle Schwarber got close to that record with 53, just by himself. Going forward into another American League team, I would probably say, again, probably Seattle too because of Julio Rodriguez. He's a bat that gets hot quickly.
Yeah.
All-star bat. That's it for the American League.
Awesome. So we have a bunch of Seattle support here. Ethan, I want to hear from you. What's your take on the AL?
Yeah, I actually agree with both of you. I think in Seattle's perspective, they're 15-5 in the last 20 games. One of the best rotations in the league, like you said. One of the best hitting team in the league as well. For me, as far as the Yankees, I think their side of the bracket is very favorable to them. I think the Red Sox are just too young at the moment, and the Blue Jays, while they have one of the best batting teams in the league, they're also 20th in ERA. And you know, when it comes to October, the best pitching always wins. So, and you look at the Tigers, 1-9 in their last 10 games. That's just not good enough. You have to come into the postseason playing good baseball. And it looks like they're going to be taken over by the Guardians in the division too. So I would say my favorite in the AL is definitely the Mariners.
Yeah, and kind of on the track of I just lost my train of thought. Oh my gosh. All right. On the Blue Jays, sorry. Okay, and with the Blue Jays, we kind of see they don't have as much experience in October, and unfortunately the Yankees do, even though I don't think at the face they are as good of a team. I think that the experience will really shine through, and Yankees just have more stars. And I do want to take a second and talk about the Guardians. They've been on a historic tear in the last couple of weeks, and they've absolutely torn ahead. It's between them and the Tigers right now, kind of battling for the division. How do we think that dynamic's going to go? What do we think is going to happen with the Guardians?
Well, this is kind of, the Guardians are pulling the Uno reverse from last season. I mean, now they got the crazy run. Then they were really, they were like 43-58 at one point, and they've just been on a heater in the second half of the season. It's a really mediocre team other than Jose Ramirez, who's just incredible, and they've gotten some good rotation players who've kind of stepped up. So I think they could be dangerous. It's just, are they going to get that consistent starting pitching if they make it? I do think they overtake the Tigers, especially if they lose. I think they're playing Tarek Skubal pretty soon. If they lose that game, if the Guardians win that, I think they could easily win that division. They got all the momentum, so.
Yeah, I think Skubal's kind of the deciding factor, really. I mean, that is your guy. That's your main man. So if he's out, the Guardians are on a tear. I worry a bit with the Guardians since they've been on such a long tear. It'd be different if they were going in with maybe 10 straight, but we're getting to the point, we're 20 games deep, and that's got to fall off at some point. I don't think it's going to go all the way through the playoffs, but that's just me. Do any of you guys have an opinion on kind of Tigers, Guards? Yeah,
for me, I think it comes down to who's going to be able to win the division and get home field, especially in the first round. You know, your crowd's going to be rocking, and you want your fans behind you. So for me, both teams are pretty even at this point. I mean, Guardians are surging, and Tigers are just not playing good baseball right now. So I think it's going to come down to the fans behind you supporting you.
Yeah. Do you have any opinions on the Guards, Tigers? You kind of.
Tarek Skubal's a bad man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, he is.
I saw Tarek Skubal play just on a random Sunday night, and he went 7 strong innings against, who was it? Minnesota?
Yeah, I think I remember that game, yeah.
He went 7 clean innings, only gave up like 3 hits the whole game. If you walk in to October with an arm like that, might get sneaky.
Yeah. I want us to transition to NL here before we run out of time. Kind of who are our favorites in the NL? I'll kind of start off and say that the Brewers, obviously, like they have the best record in baseball right now.
Best record in baseball.
Like by far. Yeah. I think they are an extremely mediocre team that's playing really well, but unfortunately I think they're going to make it pretty far just because they are consistent.
Well, they haven't done it yet as a franchise, and they haven't made it even to the World Series in a very long time, so it'll be very interesting. I do think if the Phillies are going to do it, it's got to be this season. I mean, Kyle Schwarber's a free agent at the end of the season. Zach Wheeler's obviously hurt now. There's some big question marks. Nick Castellanos and Rob Thompson, the manager, have been having kind of feuds right now. Really doesn't bode well for them going into the playoffs, but I think the Brewers are gettable. Like you mentioned, kind of their lineup isn't really great, but they just find a way. They piece it together. So I think there is a chance the Phillies can get to the World Series and win it this season, but not having Zach Wheeler is really going to hurt them.
Yeah. For me, I would say on the Brewers side, if you're going to beat the Brewers, who, by the way, are second in ERA and second in batting in the entire MLB, you're going to have to get to them early. So, like, for the Cubs or Padres, like, don't let this team settle in. If they settle in, they're going to go for a deep playoff run. Kind of, like, get them when they're not expecting it. And for the Phillies, I mean, like I said earlier, you got to have good pitching to win the World Series, and there's just rotation's just not good enough. And I think their lineup's just getting too old, too. The bottom of the lineup's just not producing like prior years. So I think for me, a team that stands out would probably be the Brewers. Obviously, if they can settle in and get hot and continue their run, I think they're going to be a really good team going into it. And then the Dodgers, for me, their rotation's getting healthy, playing at an all-time high right now. One of the best ERAs in the last 20, 30 games. The lineup's getting hot finally. It took, I don't know, 100 games to finally start seeing our bats show up. So, yeah, but bullpen's bullpen's a question mark for sure. Just a lot of oldies just not playing well. So, if you're going to get to the Dodgers, they're definitely vulnerable in the bullpen side.
Yeah, and then NL favorites, just like one or two. What are you thinking?
If you had to ask me an NL team right now, I'd probably say Chicago, the Cubs, just because of Pete Crow Armstrong. But I do want to add to this point about the Phillies. Where is Bryce Harper?
I don't know. He hasn't been as good this season.
In October, he turns into Casper.
Yeah.
The goat. He makes entirely too much money to go cold.
Yeah. Yeah, and really quick before we wrap this up, I want your World Series 2. Really quick, rapid fire, Nathan.
Oh, boy, I'm going to go Mariners-Phillies.
Okay.
Yankees and Cubs.
Okay.
I'm going to go Dodgers-Mariners.
Okay, I'm going to go Guards-Brewers.
Wow.
Or Cubs.
Wow,
but
the Guards.
that is all the time we have this week. Be sure to join us next week at the same Pioneer time, the same Pioneer channel, and the same Pioneer Sideline.